Welcome back to another episode of Research and Rabbit Holes with Lauren Nicole, your cousin, sister, friend, and your friendly neighborhood librarian. Today, we're going to go over a resource that allows you to read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and even listen to music and watch movies, all for free. This is something that is available through your public library system, most public library systems anyway, okay? So first things first, do you have a library card? This is my newest lucky trusty library card, okay? I wanted to make sure I had a new one that's up to date in my account and all the things. Please go and support your local library by finding out what it is that you need to apply for a library card. Typically, it's something like a form of ID and some sort of proof of residency. That might look like some sort of bill that's in your name or proof that you work in the area, right? We have plenty of people who are traveling and commuting and transferring to different locations. So sometimes your library system will accept that you are working in that area. So just find out what your system requires of you to obtain a library card, okay? And some library systems will allow you to purchase a library card if you're not a resident. So there's still a way to access materials outside of your typical free access that you would have. So be sure to get your library card because you will need a library card in order to access the resource that we are discussing today. And so today what we are talking about is something called Hoopla. Hoopla is a digital app that is also available via web. So you can use it on any mobile device, but you can also use it on a computer. So today, I'm actually going to go through the mobile version. Just keep in mind that you can log into the website via your computer and follow along and access these resources that way as well. Okay. So if you are at work, you can definitely put on an audio, on a different tab and be doing your work if that's something that you like to do. Okay. So let's navigate through this app. You will need to access the Hoopla digital app via the Google Play Store or the App Store if you're using iPhone by simply searching Hoopla, that's Hoopla. And you want to choose the Hoopla digital option here. So the very first time that you use this app, this will be the screen that pops up, and you'll want to go ahead and sign up for an account, okay? Once you sign up, any other time that you go to sign in, you will come across this page. Now, once you log into the app, you'll have access to the home screen. Now, I use Hoopla very, very often, so I have this recently borrowed section here. At the very top, there's going to be this reel of featured materials that they're trying to highlight, whether there are movies that are available, new books, graphic novels, or other materials. So then you have your recently borrowed section. There will be a section of items that are recommended for you, and even some of the things that you've gone through and favorited, okay? You have the audiobook section. You can navigate through different options, right? So you have the popular section. We can go and look through some of the books that are really popular right now. Some of them are older, such as Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and then some of them are newer, such as Frida McFadden's Housemaid series. You can search by genre or collection, right? Remember, we talked about genres in the last episode, right? So you can choose a genre and just kind of filter through these. You have the featured at the trending section, your next listen. All of these are just different ways to search through what the options are, right? Whether they are new or older, or they are in alignment with a particular theme. With it being February, you have your Black History Month, right? And this is the audiobook section. You have your ebooks. So remember, ebooks are the books that allow you to read along. They don't necessarily read to you. So any of these books that you choose, you will be reading on the device. Now, the great part about Hoopla is that Whether you are reading an ebook or listening to an audiobook, it will keep up with where you are in the book. So you never have to start all the way over. You never have to lose your place. And you also have features like bookmarks so that you can go back to the pages that you've bookmarked. Okay. And the other great thing is, even if you don't finish a book in your borrowing time period, when you go back and borrow it again to finish, it will pick up where you left off when you last borrowed the book. Okay. Movies. So one of the great things that is a feature of this app is that you can borrow these movies and watch them in the app. Okay. And if you see here at the very top right hand side, you have this screencast filter. So you can cast this onto a smart TV, or if you're navigating Hoopla via web, then you can simply just watch it on your computer the way that you would any other movie. But yeah, you can borrow these movies and watch them. The other cool thing is you have something called binge passes, right? Where these networks such as Hallmark, BBC, you have Doctor Who, which is also BBC, the librarians. You can borrow the binge pass. Within the binge pass are multiple episodes of a series or multiple movies under this umbrella, and with the one binge pass. So instead of a single borrow the way that you would with, say, The Truman Show here or The Wolf of Wall Street, these are individual borrows. You will only watch that one movie when you borrow these. With the binge pass, you can watch as many of the films within the umbrella that they are offering within that binge pass period. A typical binge pass is about 7 days. Okay. So if you want to watch this whole season of Office 1 in 7 days under that binge pass, you can. You have a lot of options with genres and that kind of thing. Next, you have your television shows, which is going to be the same thing. So with each of these are typically, they will count as one borrow, right? So depending on your library system, you have a limited number of borrows per month. So you may be able to borrow 7 items per month. So that might be 7 books. Or if you were to opt for a movie, that would count as one of your borrows. If you were to borrow a TV show, that would count as one of your borrows for the month. And then your borrows do renew every month. They do not carry over, but they do renew. Okay, and that's what makes the binge pass great, because the binge pass counts as one borrow, and then it has multiple items inside of it that you can access. Okay, comics, right? Then you have that binge pass option where you can just go through all of them at once. Some of them are games, some of them are cartoons. Just go through and see what's there. And then lastly, you have your music option, right? So there are whole albums here, and that whole album is one borrow. So again, go through these and figure out what it is you might be interested in. You can always use the search feature to search for a particular person. You can navigate through these collections to figure out if there's a particular genre that you might want to listen to, and borrow that item for the month. And so it will let you know how long you have to borrow. It's typically 21 days. And then it will automatically return unless you finish that item beforehand and return it. Okay. So you have your My Hoopla section, which will show you the things that you've borrowed, right? Giving you guys a little insight into my world and what I'm looking at. You have your borrowed, you have your favorites. You can favorite artists, you can favorite different types of material. So I have some movies I want to go back and watch. I have some music that I was interested in, some graphic novels here or comics, ebooks, that kind of thing. So they do categorize them there. And then you have the history of the things that you have watched. Then you have your search feature, right? So you have your trending searches if you want to jump into something someone else has looked at, or you can search something on your own. So if you have a title that you're interested in looking to see if your library system has, or if you're interested in a particular author or artist, our libraries don't necessarily have everything that we're interested in, but this is a great starting place to look. So let's see what a really popular book would be. So I know that Frida McFadden is really hot right now. So we'll search Frida McFadden and I'll show you what it looks like. There is a book of hers that I'm interested in, but this is what that will look like when you run a search. You can sort it by popularity, by A to Z, Z to A in terms of the title. You can sort it by user rating, which ones are really popular amongst readers, or even date added to pick some of the newer ones versus the older ones, right? You can also filter down to release date, right? What was released within these time frames, or the dates as you could sort them, or even language. So there are some authors who will have some of their works available in different languages throughout the Hoopla app, as you will find. So when you're navigating through the results, you can see the titles, but then you can also see what format. You can also see what format that item is in. So these are all audiobooks. Here, The Locked Door here on the left is an ebook, more audiobooks, an ebook, right? Depending on who you search or what you search, there might be other books with similar titles. There might be other authors that come up, and then you might have a mix of music albums and things like that that come up. Very similar to if you were to search on any other kind of website. Okay, so just to kind of show you, there is a book that I'm actually interested in reading by Frida. I do enjoy Frida McFadden's work, actually. So let's borrow The Teacher, for example. Okay, so I'm able to see that it has a 4 and just a little bit, rating. It was released in 2024. It takes about 9 hours and 36 minutes to listen through it. It is in English. It's unabridged. Okay. It will let you know this title is available for 21 days after you borrow it, and it's for streaming and downloading to mobile devices. And then it will give you a summary of what that book is like, the same way you would be able to read either the inside cover of a physical book or the back of a book. Then you have the genre that the book falls under if you were interested in finding more books similar to this, or if you wanted to go back to that author, you can choose the author's name and it will show you more of their work. And even if you are interested in particular narrators, like there's a particular narrator that I really enjoy when she reads books, and I've been able to follow that and find other books that she's narrated, which I think is really great. And then it will tell you who it's published by, right? And you can report it for any issues. Now, if I was not ready to borrow this book, I could simply click that little heart and this will be added to my favorites. So I could come back to borrow this material whenever I got ready to do so. Okay, but I'm ready to borrow this book. So I'll go ahead and borrow it, and then I'll get this notice. This book is available for 21 days after I borrow it, and it's available for streaming and download it. Am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. And so now I can go ahead and play this book. So once I click play, something went wrong. Okay, once I click play and it begins to play, this is what it would look like.
Written by.
All right. So you can listen to it either chapter by chapter in this way so that you can see like how long each of the chapters are, or you can keep track of where you are in the entire book. You have each of your buttons here, whether you want to play it, you want to skip forward, skip backwards, and you even have the 15-second option. So every now and then you might be multitasking and you might miss a key part in the story, and maybe you just want to toggle back maybe 15 to 30 seconds. That will give you that option there. Your sleep timer allows you to set a time for it to go off automatically, right? In case you fall asleep listening to your book, or, you want to put it on before while you're winding down at the end of the day to go ahead and stop in 30 to 45 minutes. That's an option. This chapter feature will allow you to see which chapter you're on in the book, and you may want to skip ahead or go back to a particular chapter. That's an option. Remember, I mentioned you have the bookmark feature. So as you're navigating through, you can actually place a bookmark so that you can go back to that section of the book. And then you have your speed option. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I like to listen to my books a little sped up. Typically 1.1, depending on how fast the narrator naturally reads, is going to be good for me. That allows me to still multitask while I'm working. But you can manipulate the speed of how fast the narrator is reading. Okay. Little button here. I don't know if I can press it. So up here in the top hand corner where the bookmark has the plus sign, and I'm able to get to it better by clicking on this feature here. If I click that, then I'm able to add a bookmark.
She crosses the small space and wait.
Then I'm able to add a bookmark to that portion of the story. So as I'm navigating through the story, I can click the bookmark feature with the little plus sign here in the right hand corner. And once I set those bookmarks, I can click on the bookmarks icon here at the bottom. And this is where I can jump back either into that part of the book, or I can even make notes about this section, right? So maybe you are in a book club and you have different thoughts about different parts of the book that you're reading. And you want to say, what? I can't believe she popped out of the back room on this part of the book. That's crazy. And you want to be able to make sure that you are keeping up with the book and your thoughts about those parts of the book. And you can even sort them here with this symbol here at the top right corner, which is really great. And so, like I said, once you're done with the book, you can simply return it here. It'll let you know when this book automatically returns, the date and the time, and then you can return it before then as well. Okay. So typically the Hoopla app will let you know that you have so many borrows left for the month, and it will encourage you to consider jumping back in. Then you have your kids feature. Now my kids mode is turned off, but you do have kids mode. So for my parents who are interested in having this for their children, you can set it in kids mode, and you can make it so that there's only a certain amount of things that the children have access to. So there's not just any book or any movie or any comic book that they can read, that only certain ratings of materials that they can access once it's in kids mode. So that's a really great feature. And the other thing they have is something called flex borrows. And so there aren't any available at this moment on the app from what I can see, but a flex borrow would be something like it would be a book that does not have unlimited access for everyone. So it's very similar to the way that the physical library has books, where it can only be borrowed one at a time. So if there were, typically this happens with your more popular books, such as We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers. That was a flex book in the library for a while. So you would add yourself to a wait list, and you can see what number you are in the wait list. And then you would get a notification that your borrowing period has come up. You have a very limited borrowing period. And once it goes through, then you can't simply just check it back out the way you would with some of the other instant borrows. That's what these are called, instant borrows. They are readily available. The way that I borrowed The Teacher, because there are multiple use copies there. But with your flex borrows, you kind of have to wait in line. And this tends to be one of those library vendor relationship kind of things, because these materials, though they are free to us, they can be quite pricey. And so in order to make sure that we, the people, have access to these materials, sometimes there's a limited range in terms of borrowing time or the number of materials available, and we may just have to wait our turn, but that doesn't mean that we don't get to access those things eventually. So please go in and play around in your Hoopla app. Here's your settings. Like I said, I mentioned the kids mode. You have your theme. I'm using dark mode. You have your light mode. You have your borrowing history, which I showed you before, of all the things that you've borrowed before. You can hide your history. You can set it so that you can download materials using Wi-Fi only, so you're not draining your phone data if that's important to you. And then, as I mentioned before, you can link your TV so that you can cast whatever you're reading or watching onto a TV device. But I wanted to point out here where it says library, you can, and this is something we will talk about in a future episode, when it comes to having multiple library cards or having relationships with more than one library, you can search a different library system, a neighboring city, another state, or what have you, where you may have a library card. And if they have Hoopla, you can access that library system's resources. Now, with some library systems being larger than others, that may mean they have larger budgets, and therefore they have more things, more movies, more TV shows, more books that you can access through their Hoopla. Okay, so that's a conversation for another time, but just get started with Hoopla for your city or your county library. Okay. So that wraps it up for today's episode, but I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that you go and download the Hoopla app or access it via web and play around with it, borrow some materials, and use these resources as they are available to you for free. We love free. So my goal is to make sure that the general public understands what's available at their fingertips. I want you all to be able to access these things and to know how to access them, to know how to navigate through the apps, know how to navigate through the web pages, and feel comfortable doing so. And if you have additional questions, you can reach out to your public library to ask for assistance, okay? So thank you for watching another episode, and I'll catch you guys next time.